Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker from My Favorite Things. When I was coming up with the design for the card for today's video, I was really in the mood to make an ocean themed card. So the first thing that I did is I went on Pinterest and I looked for ocean color palettes. I found a color palette that I really liked, and then I tried to find cardstock in my stash that matched those colors. So I picked out 7 different colors that I really liked, and when I was looking at them, I thought that they would be perfect to use with the Color Wave cover-up die. This cover-up die is a little bit older. It's an oldie but a goodie. I love using it. I've used it several times. It just makes really great backgrounds. And it was just perfect for the look that I was going for. It has those wavy lines, which kind of makes you think of the ocean. And because I'm doing an ocean card, it just worked out perfectly. As you saw, I used my die cutting machine to cut out each section of that Color Wave cover-up die out of a different color of the papers that I picked out. And now I'm cutting a piece of white cardstock to be slightly smaller than that die so that I can use that to adhere all of my pieces together. So I completely covered that entire panel with adhesive, and then I can take all of my pieces and kind of puzzle them together. And you have to be very careful when you're placing these so that you get them lined up properly. If they are not lined up properly, it's going to look a little funny. You might have some white showing in between. You want to really push those edges together so that you don't have any space between. I actually did mess up one of the sections so that there's just a tiny bit of space in between. Not too bad, and it was just on the edge, which I'm trimming anyways, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I did trim around the edges just a smidge. I just wanted it a little bit smaller so that when I pop it up on an A2 size card base later, I'll have a little bit more of a white border around the edge. So now I had my colorful ocean background, and what better to put on an ocean than a boat? And it just so happens that the Pig Time Fun stamp set from the latest release has a sailboat in it. So I stamped that sailboat with a Copic-friendly black ink onto some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, and then I colored it in using my Copic markers. The Pig Time Fun stamp set has a lot of really cute images in it. There are a couple of really cute little piggies, which I'll probably use on future cards. And then I also really like this tiny little lighthouse stamp that's in it. I think that I'll be using that a lot. My mother-in-law is a big fan of lighthouses, so I can imagine that I'll be using that on some future cards for her. For the coloring on the boat, I really wanted to stick with the beachy ocean aesthetic, which I often see a lot of blues and tans and reds for. So I went with this deep dark blue color for the boat, and then I added a pop of red for the flag on top, and then the rest of it is just neutral colors. It's kind of got a very nautical look to it. If you look up nautical aesthetics on Pinterest, you'll find a lot of these kind of colors. Pinterest is my best friend when it comes to finding color palettes. Whenever I'm not sure about what I want to do for a card, I will browse color palettes on Pinterest until I'm inspired by something. Some of the blue that I used did seep into the white area on that stripe a little bit, but I just used the colorless blender to lighten that up a bit, and then it just looked like shading. Once the coloring was done, I used the coordinating die to cut this out, and then I'm going to move on to making my sentiment. I picked out a sentiment from the Pig Time Fun stamp set, which went really well with the boat image, and I'm stamping that with Versamark ink onto a black cardstock, which I did prep with a powder tool so that I don't have any trouble with the powder sticking where I don't want it to stick, and then I embossed it with a white embossing powder. I cut that sentiment down, and then I moved on to assembling my card. I added foam tape to the back of my Color Wave background, and I popped that up onto my A2 size card base. I then popped up the sentiment with foam tape, and I used a ruler to try to make sure that it was straight and centered. It's a little bit off, but I don't want to rip it up and risk ripping up the paper of the background at this point. It's not too bad that it's noticeable with the naked eye, so I just left it. Then I popped up the boat right above that sentiment, and this card is almost done. I grabbed my white gel pen, and there's a few areas where the blue marker bled out onto the outside border. And so I just went over that so that those are now completely white. And then I also added some highlights to the side of the boat and the little flag. Now, of course, I could have left the card like this and it could have been done, but I always love my embellishments, and I thought that the raindrop embellishments would be perfect for this card because they look like little bubbles on the card, which really goes with that ocean theme. Once those were all added, this card is all done, and I absolutely love the way that this one turned out. Something about all of those colors next to each other just makes me feel really calm and relaxed. It's such a great summer card. I hope you guys really enjoyed this card. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.